Hi, welcome to today's lesson. It is a media literacy lesson over interpreting AI in the news. So let's take a look at how we would do that. The objectives of your module will be to learn how to analyze artificial intelligence, how it's discussed in the media, identifying how an author's writing choices can contribute to the misconceptions of what AI is and what AI does. Students will also use written communication skills to reflect on an article themselves covering AI, and of course, there's going to be a general education linkage, and the use of APA formatting will be required. So the materials that you're going to need to complete this assignment will be internet access, Microsoft Word app, and you'll need to also have access to the news sources that I've given to you in the module. I've provided 3 links. We'll also see those later on in the presentation. And for your homework assignment, you're going to find your own article online from possibly one of the sources that I have identified. And I'm going to help you look at what to look for in great reporting on AI. What criterion should you be checking off? You'll also have a discussion post grading rubric and a written reflection essay grading rubric. Again, all of those are available to you in the module. Now, before we get started, we're going to cover a bit of AI vocabulary. So you hear artificial intelligence, and that's AI. It's historically referring to a collection of technology, right? We're designing it to emulate human intelligence. However, it is not human intelligence. It is not actually artificial intelligence. So in the recent years, this term has become synonymous with machines learning, a set of computer processes used to identify unintuitive patterns of data. So that means that they themselves are not going through an actual thinking process. They are following the data. Examples of AI today include speech recognition, autonomous vehicle navigation, and the generation of new content. Now, there's also automation, a process where machines or computer programs is used to complete a task instead of a person. And for many ways, this is where AI is really helpful. Now, data, like AI, this is an umbrella term. It covers so much more than, just numbers, which is technically the official original definition of data. But the term now describes many types of information. Any information that is stored and processed on computers. This can be videos, images, temperature sensor readings, and the location information on your phone. Those are all different types of data. Now, the computer vision is a field of computer science dedicated to figuring out how to process images and a video with computer in a way that mimics the human visual system. So some examples of that are inferring depth from a series of 2D images or isolating food on a line that doesn't visually meet quality assurance. And also, we're going to cover robotics. So that's the physical machines that are used to execute a variety of actions. So we're going to delve into, now this is a slide that I'm going to leave up for my students to watch on their own. It is a bit of a little funny, just a few minutes long. It is from, I believe, if I remember, it's from California, somewhere in San Diego or San Francisco, where a journalist is taken for a ride through a metropolitan area with an automated driving system. For my students, I want you to understand we are looking for 4 different criteria to look for to find excellent writing about AI. You want to make sure that the article or whatever you're reading does not personify. So what does that mean? So sometimes people write in ways that imply that AI took like a conscious action. It struggled, it lied. So what AI is really doing is it's following code. So great writing is going to say that the AI generates, it outputs. It's not going to use words like believes or understands. Okay? Now, we're also going to make sure that it uses accessible language. So the language that technology uses to talk about AI is full of jargon. And there are so many words that, with different meanings between the general public and somebody who's actually creating AI and writing code. So the general public, they hear a word training or model, and they think of the human forms of these words, and it can become confusing. So, word choice and metaphor used to describe AI tools should ideally be accessible to the audience that you're writing for. So, an example of inaccessible language would be machine learning utilizes pre processed databases to train a model to make inferences about novel data. So, correction. A machine learning system is a type of AI that essentially serves as a pattern recognition tool. You'll notice how that second one is much more understandable for that general public. Now, we're also going to make sure that the writing we look at doesn't specifically describe, or it does actually, sorry, specifically describe current capabilities. So sometimes people write about things about AI tools and what they could do in the future, but we want to make sure that they are clarifying what type of tools they're referring to and what those types of tools can do today. So, an example, future capabilities, AI is getting smart enough to face off against doctors and lawyers. So, a correction by using this criteria would say something more like generative AI systems can be prompted to return correct answers for many leading professional exams, including the LSAT and medical license exams. So, what it's actually saying is yes, AI systems are learning how to pass these tests to become these specific professionals, but it's not stating anywhere that AI is about to take off and perform surgery all on its own. You also want to make sure that it talks about human actors. So if the article does not mention the people responsible for creating that AI tool and deciding how it gets used, then they're hiding the real decisions about the technology. So an example of hiding human actors may say the AI system fired 1,000 employees. So how would you correct that? Management used AI tools to select 1,000 employees to fire. Now, next slide. So how do we put this into practice? So the following steps show the evolution of a bad sentence and how we would turn it into an excellent sentence. So now, the bad sentence is just an example sentence, and the actual sentence itself is taken from a wonderful article that I found in Markup. So, an example sentence: AI has learned to predict crimes in New Jersey. Well, going back to those four things that we just talked about. So, starting with how it personifies, it's saying has learned. But has it learned? We already know that it hasn't actually learned. So you would remove that personification, and then you would also use clear and specific language to name the specific technique that the AI is actually doing instead of just using that catch-all phrase AI. Next, you want to make sure, so I should specify, instead of using the word AI right here, it says AI has learned, we would want to say risk terrain modeling, because that is the specific tool. Next, we're going to remove the hyperbolic language and replace it with current capabilities. So instead of saying to predict crimes, which is not what it's doing, it's identifying trends that could be triggering crimes. So the last thing that we're going to point out is that they have taken out the human actors, because it says nothing in here about any sort of human intervention here who created this AI. Well, that would be developed by the Rutgers University researchers. So down here we have highlighted the reworked sentence. One moment. Let me move my video here so we can see more of this slide. So, developed by Rutgers University researchers, RTM matches crime data with information about land use to identify trends that could be triggering crimes. So that's that reworked sentence. That is a good sentence. This is a great example of how these writers here in this paragraph have not personified. They have specifically described current capabilities. They have brought in the human actors. That's how we, and they've used accessible language that we can understand. That's how we identify good writing about AI. So students will take off with a class discussion, which are worth 100 points. Go ahead and use the criterion rubric to assess the articles, which I'm about to show you, and it's also available to you in your module. And you're also going to use your discussion post grading rubric to make sure that you're hitting all those points that you need to get the points for this class discussion. Oops. Now, you're going to choose one of these articles from the following here, and I'm going to allow you to read all of this yourself, but I've picked 3 here. The titles being Chat GPT can be broken by entering these strange words and nobody is sure why. It was published by Vice. Then you have A Conversation with Bing's Chatbot, Left Me Deeply Unsettled, published by the New York Times. And we have Chat GPT is a blurry JPEG of the web by the New Yorker. So go ahead and use this criterion to assess those articles. So here we talk about those human actors and what is best, what is okay, and what is worst. We also have employees' action verbs appropriate to non-living systems. So we want to make sure it's not using that personifying language that gives human attributes such as learning and understanding to these AI. Make sure that it specifically describes current capabilities and we're not sounding fantastical about what's going to happen in the future. And make sure it uses clear and specific language to convey meaning and defines terminology where appropriate. So we don't want it to be so heavy with jargon that we cannot understand it as the layman, right? And so after you've used this criterion, go ahead and use this rubric, right? So it's worth 100 points. Each section is worth 25 points. Now, as usual, exceptional is 100% of that 25, standard is 50, and below standard is 0. You also have an assessment. So you're going to find one news article yourself, and it has to be from this year, from 2024. Now, you're going to write a reflection about why you chose the article, where it succeeds, where it fails. Use the criteria for what to look for in great reporting on AI, and it needs to be over 400 words, written in APA format in a Word document submitted in the module on Blackboard. Now, try searching for articles on AI with some of these publications. Now, you don't have to, but I will say that I've already vetted these publications, so you have quite a few things to choose from this year. Go ahead and start there. If you don't like what's there, widen your search. Now, some keywords that you want to use while searching for these items. So you want to, of course, AI, artificial intelligence, computer vision, deep fake or synthetic media, LLM or large language model, multi-do-IL, generative AI, algorithmic decision system or automated decision system. And you'll want to make sure that you use this rubric to ensure that you're hitting all of the spots necessary for your written reflection rubric. And so why do we do all this? What is the point? With the rise of AI and the use of AI in academic and employment settings, we need to understand what we are dealing with. We need to understand how to critically analyze what we read about AI so that we can understand what exactly is happening in the world around us. We need to be able to recognize and critically analyze what we read and how it's pertinent to understanding this world around us. And so we're spending more and more time in the digital world. It's becoming clear that we have to establish a good foundation of digital literacy for ourselves, for our families. That's why we do this. We need to understand what we're reading and why. So thank you for watching this presentation to get you started in your module, and I look forward to seeing the work from all of you.